Mike, let's talk college football and look at the big picture. We have, for the first time, a more legitimate playoff system in place. Who are the favorites?
Oh, there seems to be a consensus of all the people who do preseason picking, and they seem to have Florida State, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Oregon. There's a couple people who might have an Ohio State in there or somebody else, but basically it's those four according to the consensus. And I don't disagree with the consensus. I just would say that I think all four of those teams are more vulnerable than maybe people think. And if you look at the recent history of college football, you had Auburn playing for the national championship last year. They were 3-8, 3-9 the year before that. Think of Notre Dame 2 years ago, which was completely unranked going into the season. Ended up playing for the national championship. This is not as etched in stone as people think. Maybe you want to look at these four teams and.
Go ahead. I mean, Florida State's loaded again. They just coming off a national title, but they played Auburn, who has a lot of players back. I can't believe Auburn's not in the mix for this. Alabama's been very good for a long time, so obviously I'm going to put them there. The two that I question, the new or Oregon and Oklahoma over here that you mentioned to me.
And one reason to question Oklahoma, I think, is that a lot of people are putting that on the fact that they beat Alabama in a bowl game last year and looked very impressive doing it. I'm not sure Alabama was really interested in being there, and I'm leery of, history tells me to be leery of putting too much stock in a bowl game.
And I don't know what team it's going to be at, but one team is going to emerge that we didn't think of. Is it Miami? Is it? I don't know. I'm just saying, throwing something out there. There's been the last couple of years just that, like you said, Auburn last year was the team that where they come from. 2 years ago was the Notre Dames. Who's going to slide in here that we weren't expecting? So
I was watching
a wild card team.
I was watching. There's one team that I think in the Big Ten that I think is going to be pretty good. And the other day I was watching a thing on ESPN, and they asked Kirk Herbstreit the question that you just asked, and he said Iowa.
Wow.
Now, which Iowa was better than. They were better than I remember them being last year. They were pretty good. At the end of the year, the last game of the regular season, they went to Nebraska and flogged them, just killed them. And then they played a dead-even game with LSU in the bowl game. They have a lot coming back and a very favorable schedule. That Western division of the Big Ten is really, I don't think, going to be real good. And their non-league schedule is very manageable. The home games are very manageable. I mean, I'm not predicting that that's going to happen. I don't think Iowa's going to make the national championship playoff. But if you're looking for a team out of left field that I think has a puncher's chance, I think they're pretty good.
That's a team that's well coached, but for the last couple of years they've not been as elite as they've been. So I could really see them sliding in.
And they have a very good offensive line and a big-time monster at left tackle. I wish I could remember the kid's name, but he is a beast.
Usually teams that are good have big left tackles.
Yep.
Anybody else in the Big Ten worth noting?
Well, the Ohio State-Michigan State game, I think everybody thinks, which is in November. It's at Ohio State. I think everybody thinks that's going to be a very big game, and those teams have a very good chance to be undefeated or maybe one loss going into there. Now, very interestingly, for the reputation of the Big Ten and for this playoff, September 6th, which is just coming up here a couple weeks, Michigan State is at Oregon in a game that is a big non-conference very early in the game that could figure into this whole playoff situation.